And back, we are going to do something a little bit different. We're just going to hit the highlights of some of the things that sold for us in our reselling business in the whole month of June. So we sold some fun things. Some things are updates for things that you saw when I went out thrifting. So we're going to start actually with Depop, and I just wanted to give an update on the Lalaloopsy. Now, all of the Lalaloopsy sold on Depop. So that's my little tip for you. If you're going to come across any Lalaloopsy, to definitely try Depop, because that's where things were going. Now, it helped the month of June. They were doing free shipping on Depop. So one of the wonderful things that happened was the increased attention my store got from the Lalaloopsy and then having those sales kind of boosted it. And so I sold some other things. So even though Depop is usually just one of the slower ones, we've had kind of some steady sales on it ever since, which is kind of fun. Now, I don't know, I didn't check if the free shipping ended on Depop or not. It's July 1st now, so it's possible that they we're just doing it for the month of June, but we'll see what happens, okay? In any case, I just decided to just show you my whole sold screen. It was just easier. So here you can see before that, I had two sales in June, just a Starbucks mug. And over here is what I actually got paid for the item after. You can see it says it was boosted. That's like an 8% fee. So this is what kind of my take home on that. And then this shirt was just a Gitman Brothers. And I think it sold for like 35 or so. Oh no, it wasn't boosted. So $29.53 was my full payment. I have my whole store boosted, but I have a feeling that when things renew, that it doesn't automatically renew them as boosted. So every once in a while I have a sale that's not, and I'm okay with that. Okay, so here we go. June 15th, I start listing the Lalaloopsy. And right away, this is one of the smaller dolls. And it sold right away. As you can see, I got $15.68 for that. And then the same day, I sold this one. I got $18.13 for that. What my estimate was going to be was that like the bigger dolls would average out to about $20 a piece. And then I had these little smaller dolls. The other two small dolls I put together because they had a little bit of damage. I got $16.44 out of that. Then in the midst of that, I sold this Lucky Brand belt. Sold for, I think it was, I can't remember what the full price was. But anyway, I got $33.32 on that. And then I think this is it was a wool. Was it smart wool? I think it was a woman's smart wool. I got $20 for that. I sold this bucket hat. That was the brand Supreme, and that sold for $45. I got $45.98. Here's another Lalaloopsy that sold a couple days later. I got $29 for that one. I sold this hat, got $24. Another Lalaloopsy a couple days later, got $14 for that. And then sold this little Y2K kind of dress, got $9.68. And then I think this was the last Lalaloopsy that sold. So $6.23. So from 15 to $6.23, all the Lalaloopsy was gone. I added it up. I think it was about like over $100. And so if you remember in my thrifting video, I had picked that up at a yard sale. The bin of them was like $8 for all the dolls. So I learned quite a bit. There are some dolls that are worth hundreds by themselves. So definitely something to kind of keep an eye out for, and consider Depop for things like that. I think they will sell on other sites. But these just sold so quickly on Depop, I don't think the other sites really had a chance. Okay, so then I sold some vintage towels. $24.87. And then check that out. Can you guys see what that is? That is, I don't know if I can go bigger on the screen during the screen thing. That's my little heart shelves. And that was that same video as the Lalaloopsy. And I was so excited at the beginning. So that was those stair step shelves with the heart cutouts, and those sold for like $85. I got $78.35 for them. If you remember, I paid $3 at the yard sale. And then a couple other little sales. My little Country Goose mug, it ended up not being super, like people didn't want to pay up for it. So I think I sold it for $10 or something. I got $7.99. And then I had a little sale this morning. Again, another little $10 sale. Anyway, but it's been fun having Depop be a little bit more active. So let's pop over to eBay, hit some highlights from the eBay land. Hopefully my computer will cooperate with me. I have a lot of tabs open. Okay, so I sold this Cutco. This is a Cutco knife block. Now, for me, what I look for in knife blocks is the more slots, the better. And so even though Cutco is a very popular brand, there was actually two of these at the thrift store. They were both kind of beat up, but one was just it was just a small, very basic one. And I ended up just leaving that because I found these at the bins and I was going to be paying per pound on that. And so, but when I saw the 32 slot one, I was like, oh, that's going to be good. And so what we had to do, Mr. Pish Posh worked his magic and did a little refinishing on it. And we ended up selling it for $170.99. So definitely was worth it. Here's a hat brand that I want you guys to keep an eye out for. I have known it as being a bolo for a while. I just have never found one before. And one day I was at Goodwill and I was like, oh, no way. I think it's just melon, right? Like people call their head a melon. I don't know if it's connected to that or not. They're not always having to do with Hawaii, but this one was Melon Hawaii. Funny story on this, I had listed it for $50 and then it sold right away, but then almost right away, like it sold within like 20 minutes. But right away, the buyer said, oh, I'm so sorry. You know, he probably just got super excited, but he didn't realize it was a small. Okay, so as you can see on let me click on that so I can do this. You can see it's SM, and then there's like 3 different sizes the hats come in. So this one was a small. So we got chatting and he was like, do you have any more? And I was like, no, I'm sorry, I just have this one. And so then he was telling me that there's even a Facebook group where they kind of buy, sell, trade these hats. And he's like, you could probably sell it on there and do just fine. And he was like, you could even ask more if you want. It was so nice of him. Anyway, we chatted a bit, but I just went ahead. I relisted it. I bumped the price to $59.99. And I don't think it sold again within like minutes, but it sold like later that night or something, or maybe the next day. But $60 for a $2 Goodwill hat, I will take that any day. So I am definitely looking for this brand. Here's like a little logo thing. I've heard also that people have seen them at like Ross or TJ Maxx. So they're like, oh no, is this the end of that brand? So that's my little warning on that one. Okay, so next up is a necktie. Just wanted to share kind of a fun necktie sale. I had picked this one up. It was YSL, so Yves Saint Laurent, and linen kind of material. And it sold for $24.99. I just figured I got that one listed because of the material. It's the type of like summer necktie. It's great for the summer. Speaking of neckties, I have managed to accumulate a bunch of neckties again. So I am giving one of my kids is probably going to be measuring neckties for me today. Maybe taking photos, I'm not sure. And we're just gonna try to knock some ties out. This was a fun sale of a Henkel's corkscrew. Mr. Pish Posh found this one. I don't even remember where. It might have been we were out of town and we were thrifting, but it's marked Henkel's in Germany, and we got $35 for that. So Henkel's is not just flatware, not just knives. This is one of those items that has been in my little closet down here in my cabinets. And, the cabinets down here are supposed to be for listed breakable hard goods. And every once in a while, I find something in there that is not listed. And so I decided to take a look at it, and I was like, oh man, does it glow? Does it glow? And it turns out it does not. And that could be why when I picked it up, I was like, oh, it doesn't glow, and I put it off to the side to deal with later. But this actually sold so quickly. It's Westmoreland glass. It's called Oasis, this style. There's various pieces that have the palm trees on it. And it's a little toothpick holder, so nothing crazy great to write home about. But I ended up taking a $21 offer, like I said, within hours of me listing it. So collectors know what they're looking for. They've got their saved searches going on. Wanted to share a fun Rubbermaid sale. Again, these are just the things that I love because you're just picking them up for people are overlooking their value. These I picked up, I think, in a couple different places, and $24.99. I know I got some at the bins, and these sold all three. They didn't make an offer or anything like that. Sold them for $24.99. And so then let me skip over. Then I found, right after I made that sale, I found these two at Goodwill. They were taped together. They were like 99 cents. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to take these two. And then I had this one listed. The suspense. Okay. With a little bit of a different lid, the Sip and Savor, and with the straw and everything. And this one I had listed. And so I thought, you know what? I'll end that listing. I'll make a lot of three and put those three together. Well, before I could do that, this one sold by itself for $15. And so then we just went ahead and listed these two. And these two, again, within a day, these, the three took a week or so. But these sold within a day for $20. Not too bad. Oh, man, one of you told me how to pronounce this last time. And I meant to look it up, and I forgot. So you're going to have to tell me again. KUIU is the brand. I will pop down to the label picture. Okay, so you can see it. It's got a little ram's head logo. So when I sold the last shirt, I think it sold on Posh. I was like, I could have sworn we had thrifted two of these. And sure enough, I found it in my son's closet. I don't recall. We might have given it to him. It might have been one of those, my husband took one and he took one. But it's a lot. It was too big for him. I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know what happened. It might have just came out of the laundry and ended up in his closet. So once I found it, I said, you don't need this, do you? And we ended up selling it for $53.99. So definitely a brand I keep an eye out for. Now, Tommy Bahama. There can be some good Tommy Bahama. I remember back in the day, I'd be so excited to find a Tommy Bahama with embroidery on the back. And it's usually the only kind I'm really looking for. So I was happy to see this, and I ended up selling it for $35, which isn't too bad. What was I going to say? Oh, I just, back in the day, the ones with embroidery would be 50, 60, 70, depending on the design. But, things change. It's okay. We find new things to look for instead. Back in the day, I probably was not looking for Arc'teryx. Maybe I didn't know better. Maybe it wasn't so popular then. But I found this shirt, Arc'teryx, men's large. Mr. Pish Posh was drooling a bit over this. And yeah, obviously he could have kept it if he wanted to. But he likes, if things are worth money, he likes to make the money too. But it's called a Merlon or whatever shirt. It was kind of a corduroy, a heavier shirt, like a shacket. So even though it was June, we listed it and we took a $90 offer on that one. I think I got that. I was trying to remember where I had picked it up because we didn't list it right away, and we kind of came across it again and went, oh yeah. So I think I got it up in the swanky town that's near us. But anyway, Eddie Bauer, this I found at the bins. and I saw the corduroy and I saw the print, and I was like, first I saw the print because everything's all jumbled together, and I was like, oh, please be like Ralph Lauren or something. But vintage Eddie Bauer's okay, and it's a, you know, a kind of a loose fit, kind of 90s school teacher kind of vibe we got going on here. 2XL, and it sold for $50. So I'm totally good with that. Now Torrid, I don't get so excited when I find Torrid anymore. I don't, you know, I'm not just picking every piece up that I find. But Mr. Pish Posh, we were out of town, we were thrifting, and they had some racks rolled out at the store that, you know, they hadn't put away yet. So Mr. Pish Posh spotted this, and I was like, you know what, just based on the style alone, as you can see from my lovely photo, that it was like this open robe kimono, but see-through. So, you know, there's festival, there's whimsy goth, there's all sorts of little, you know, things like aesthetics that it could go to. So we decided to grab it, and it wasn't, I don't recall it being super expensive. And we sold that one for $30. And quickly is always like the goal. Arabia of Finland. Oh, one of my favorite brands. Anyway, this was a cute little cup and saucer, and I have footage of Mr. Pish Posh finding it at the thrift store and bringing it to me. And if you watch that, which maybe I'll pop up here, he's carrying 2 of them. Now, unfortunately, the dishes got wrapped in clothing as we were checking out, and Mr. Pish Posh didn't realize that. And so I think as he just took stuff out, it landed, and then we didn't see it. Like a couple days later, I'm like, this one's chipped, you know. So I don't think it was chipped when we saw it. I mean, they were all kind of taped together, but I think that's what happened. So I do have a saucer listed separately, and then I just ended up listing just the one cup and saucer. And it is like got this blueberry, snowberry design or whatever, and it sold for $34.99, which was fine. He had found it on like the rack that they were putting new things out, because I was like, how did I miss that? And he said that was in the to be put out bin that day. Okay, so the next one, Lucky Brand. This is actually kind of a surprising price for just Lucky Brand jewelry. As you can see, the earrings are new on the card, no tag or anything for the necklace, and they were in different spots in the thrift store. I just happened to notice that they matched each other. So, when I was researching, as you can see, like the price on the earrings is like $45 in the store, which is kind of high, I think. I don't shop at the mall very much. But anyway, when I was looking at comps, there were some sets and some pieces that, especially like the faux turquoise and things like that, the Southwestern styles, prices were surprisingly really good. So I decided to shoot for $39.99, and someone paid full price for that. So that was super exciting for a fairly kind of easy listing and shipping and all that kind of thing. Okay, next up is my happy flatware sale of the month. When I was filming the Flatware Friday, these were a couple of pieces that I had come across as I was looking through those atomic things. I had come across these pieces of flatware that I was like, you know what, these need to be listed. They were still like in the bag that I had bought them from. So the brand is Karl Mertens, the designer, maker, whatever, from Germany. And I was like, okay, I got to figure out the pattern. I think on replacements.com, I had a feeling it was this Vitalis. I think I actually found the pattern name by looking at eBay, and then because there was no photo on replacements.com. And then I realized later that it actually was printed on the flatware itself. So sometimes you got to check there first. So these 4 pieces of flatware sold for $50. And they sold within a couple days of them being listed. You know, less than a week, I would say. Now, Bernina, Whenever I see the word or the name Bernina, I double check what it is. I double check that it's a, I check comps or whatever. So we found these out of town we were out of town and hit a thrift store. And these are it's a guide to press your feet. I had all 3 volumes, $2 a piece is what I paid. And so we ended up selling these for $65, I believe was the offer that we accepted. Then a little brass piece. Now this was kind of interesting. It originally came with a glass. It was crackle glass. It was like a little bowl that kind of sat in here like this. And the only similar thing I could find to it was on Etsy. And it was the same brass stand with the swan necks, but it was just a glass orb, like an oil lamp. And so I don't know which was original or what the deal was. I didn't find multiples of either kind, right? So, and then I think I found just one person on eBay who had sold the stand by itself. So I had presented this on Facebook after the fact that we broke the glass vase that was supposed to go inside of there. The crackle glass, you barely touch it. Might have been while we were washing it or something, and it just like, so anyway, I presented it on my Facebook page. People are like, oh, it'll still sell, just list it. So we did, and I put it as like a planter. You could probably find the right size little pot that would fit in there, a holder, orb, sphere. Sometimes people just have those like, I don't know, what's the word? Geological, just kind of some kind of stone or something like that. Sphere, glass sphere would be a pretty display. Or another oil lamp or things like that. Anyway, so I just thought with the popularity of brass and with geese and birds and things like that and hearts, that it would go well. And this one actually ended up selling for $60 here on eBay. It was kind of an item I thought would move on Etsy first, but that's what we have. And then last on eBay, I had come across at Goodwill a few bags of this skincare treatment by Jafra, and I just kind of lotted it up by the same time. It was all new, and I lotted it up by the same like line. So this one was Luna Bright. I put these together, and not a lot of comps on the little lots I put together. So I kind of just did my best guess. And we were running a 20% off sale this weekend, which actually did really well. And they sold for $56. So that was cool. Let's pop over to Posh. Here's just some highlights for the month of June. We have this Franklin Covey. Let me show you this. You can see the fact that it was empty. But this Franklin Covey, I know I've talked about planners and organizers, especially the time of the year, like the beginning of the year when people are into resolutions and organizing and things like that. But we list ours year round. If I come across it now, I just list it. So this was day one, Franklin Covey. Like you saw, it was like a 7-ring organizer. Didn't have any inserts or anything. Had the cool little handles that retracted. And this whole thing sold for $45. Then also, just as a reminder of the things that do sell on Poshmark, not just clothing and shoes and accessories, but we have these Amarok Carriage House wall outlet cover plates. Pick those up at the bins. They sold for $36. And then also one day at a thrift store, I just happened upon these spice jars. They're just made in Japan, blue onion pattern, and they, I think all of them but one had the stopper. And no chips or anything like that. They were asking $2 a piece, but it was half off day, so I got them for $1 a piece. And they sold on Poshmark for $30. This was a Goodwill find. These are cycling bib shorts. They were new with tags. They were just kind of the regular Goodwill, $5.99, $6.99 or something like that. So I kind of grabbed them without even looking them up, and they sold on Poshmark for $60. Then I wanted to share this brooch also, just because it was kind of interesting of a Poshmark sale, that it sold for $30 and it was not marked. It had no brand name or anything like that. I think what, people do like iris flowers, they like orchids. And it also was kind of a statement piece. It was about 3 inches. So those tend, even without a name brand, seem to do pretty well. So I was happy to have that one move fairly quickly. And then this was such a fun little purse. It's by John Wind, made in Taiwan. It's a folding bamboo kind of basket purse, perfect for summer. This is what it looks like flattened. And then it has little instructions on how to kind of pop it into place. And it shows you there, pulling apart, all this kind of stuff. So hopefully somebody has fun with that. There were no comps. There was nothing under John Wind that I could even find for any kind of comp. So I started off really high, and then I dropped the price, and then I accepted offers. So this one was, the $46 offer was totally fine, because I believe I paid $6 at the beginning. And then popping over into Etsy, into the pattern shop. First of all, and I'm pretty much sharing all of my Etsy sales with you for June, because both stores were a little bit slower, but there were some good things that sold for the month. We have this McCall's pattern that sold for $18 for this coat, and and a wrap dress, I guess. McCall's New York, the collection, I usually pick those patterns up. They just consistently sell for me, so I just wanted to mention that. Then we had this Butterick, tunic or poncho kind of thing, $16 for that one. A new look pattern, very basic, just $13 for this loose fit. And as a side note, this is kind of funny. Whenever I go to ship a pattern, I'll be showing this in a future video, but most of my patterns are filed numerically, and whenever I go look for the pattern and it's not there, it's kind of rare, but then all of a sudden it hits me that when I made my pattern video, I had all those stacks of patterns to show you guys, and some of them came from my listed patterns, and I was too lazy to put them back. So I just have to go to where I filmed that video and then dig through the stacks of patterns, but at least I know where to look. This was one of them, I think. Anyway, $13 for that one. I always have that quick little moment of panic and then go, oh, wait a minute, I know where it is. Okay, Simplicity 9424. This is a Daisy Kingdom, and it's for women, not girls, for a change. But it was this really cool quilted jacket, and that was kind of a trending thing for a bit, so I made sure to highlight it. And $18 for that pattern is what it sold for. It was, I believe, from the 80s. I mean, it kind of looks like it. Then this was a newer pattern, but it sold for $15. Family pajama pants and shorts, for the whole family that you could make. And another new look pattern, again, the Y2K is still trending, still selling well in my pattern shop. $16 for kind of this little slip dress pattern. Also in the same line, these asymmetrical type hems on these skirts. Some are handkerchief hem, and some were just asymmetrical. So very, Y2K on that one. Then we had this 80s pattern. It was almost like an 80s does 50s kind of style with the cute little cutout and things in the back. McCall's 3137, $19 for that one. Cute little summer dresses. Here's another name to look for. It's Vogue, obviously, it can be good, but I always pick up the Coco Bial Vogue patterns, and this one sold for $16. It says choose size, so I had multiples of these. I don't know if I'm sold out at this point now or not. Then I also have this McCall's that sold. Dun, 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 dun. The suspense is killing me. Now this one looks very similar to the dresses. These were jumpsuits and shortalls, or whatever you want to call them, but similar features with the back pieces of your back showing and things like that. $15 for that one. And a fit to flare kind of dress. Those are always popular. $20 for this Vogue Easy Options pattern. I think that was the last, yes. So let's go to the other Etsy shop and we'll talk about this t-shirt that sold for $35. I think I've mentioned before that I tend to forget or not think about cross-posting 90s clothing into my Etsy shop. To me, my Etsy shop is always about older stuff. And so I end up like, oh yeah, I can list that there because people are looking on Etsy for things from the 90s. And this t-shirt had been listed a while on eBay, got attention on different sites like Depop and Poshmark and stuff, but finally sold on Etsy for $35. It was the America's Cup from 95. Then this was such a cool little brooch. I picked it up really recently, and it was this item, this brooch, and the next item went to the same buyer. $38 for this goat brooch. It was unsigned, but it was just so interesting to me. So I was like, I have to get that. And then was surprised I did find some comps at, some fairly good prices. Then the person bought that, and around the same time I listed this, and I just love this. This is a ceramic art pottery flower frog in the shape of a little bird, and I got that for like $5 at my local thrift store, and super, super cool. But anyway, I didn't find a maker or any kind of thing like that. I mean, I found other ones, but nothing identified. Some said Japanese. I wasn't positive. $34 for that. I was happy that, a couple new things got listed on Etsy and they got bought right away. Then also, I've talked in previous videos about hair accessories. Certain ones that have surprising prices. I found these at a yard sale. It was like on their dollar table, but I think she ended up just kind of throwing them into my, the amount that I was buying. And I decided to list them separately because they were pretty cool with the Roman coins, and those sold for $25. And then check out this sale on Etsy, $275 for this Hewlett-Packard graphing calculator. Now this one did go overseas, and so I'm still waiting for it to be delivered. Make sure everything's okay. So let's, not count our chickens before they hatch. But I found this at a thrift store, local thrift, for $20. And it, HP, I always look these up. And now I was so excited that it had the books with it and everything, and it had a case. So these are kind of the ones that you want to find, right? And I double checked. It was clean and yada, yada, yada. There would be, also there can be cards that go in here, but it's not a deal breaker. I probably would have gotten less than this on eBay. This was kind of my higher starting price, and then I would accept offers and things on eBay. But this person on Etsy paid the full price plus the shipping to the UK or someplace like that. So that was really exciting. And then here's another thing I wanted to share with you was another idea. It kind of is along the line of the Flatware Friday with the atomic flatware, is just doing mixed colors with your utensils, right? It doesn't have to be just mixed random. They're all the same brand. They're all Foley. They're all that nylon plastic, and they're all in fairly good condition. But these are ones that I've picked up over the years, just in thrift stores, at the bins, at a yard sale, and I would have paid $1 at the most for any of those. Most likely 50 cents, even less at the bins. So I have overrun, not just with flatware, but I'm kind of overrun with utensils as well. And so I decided to start to tackle it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to lot them up. But instead of waiting to get a good set of all orange or something like that, because when you buy them at different times in different places, the amount of wear people, certain ones were getting would vary. So even the colors aren't going to be exactly the same. So I thought this was a nice solution to just kind of mix it up with complementary colors. And they sold for $39. So that was pretty cool. I will do it again. This actually sold for $75 on an offer. It's an Ikebana vase. And I think the maker is Toyo. There's no marks or anything like that. It just... Toyo makes very, very similar sculptural kind of vases like this. And I think I did find another one that someone attributed to Toyo as well. So I just went with that. It sold, like I said, for $75, and it took a while. So I was happy when I got that offer to take it. Sandra Boynton just sharing how I got $20 for it on Etsy, and I wouldn't have gotten $20 for it on eBay. So Etsy has its place for selling certain things. Here's a mug. It's okay, let's go back. I had 3 of these. I've sold one. I think the first one I sold for $35. It was in the best condition. This one sold for $24. It is the Whole Internet User's Guide and Catalog coffee mug. Let me see if I can get a better look at it. We did as is because the black is kind of scratched. But it's totally random, okay? And it basically, it was around when I was making that video about coffee mugs having to do with computers and geek type stuff and how well they do. And so I saw these and I was like, well, I have to try it because now I got to put my money where my mouth is. And so it's just that it was so stinking obscure. So that first mug took a really long time to sell. That sold for $35, like I said, which was really good. I was happy with that. This one sold, and then we just listed the third one for the same. And I think it's in pretty much the same condition as this one. So we'll see how long it takes for the next one. You guys know how long ago that coffee mug video was, right? Okay, go Mr. Pish Posh, shipping a suitcase. This was a suitcase, a leather suitcase by Hartman, which is a name that is, good to keep in mind if you want to sell suitcases. Not that I recommend it, but anyway. Now, the only interesting thing about this, these suitcases were given to us years and years ago, and we finally getting around to, we've sold a few of them already, but Hartman does really well. They have a certain set of luggage that is tweed, and I think that one sells a lot better than the leather luggage. So the person who bought this is in New York, and so the suitcase was only $95, but she paid like way over $100 for shipping because Etsy doesn't let you put like UPS or FedEx or something like that in as a choice when it's calculating. Like if the person messaged me and said, hey, can you do better with shipping? I could say, well, where are you? Here's a quote for UPS, right? It lets you buy labels from them or FedEx or someplace, but it won't let you put it in the calculator. Okay, does that make sense? So you would have to either, in the future, what I could do is like list it for, 150, 175 and do free shipping. And that might, maybe I should do that in some of my bigger items. And then just kind of calculate what FedEx would be or UPS would be to like, the East Coast and just kind of guesstimate. But anyway, so I reached out to the buyer and said, actually we can ship it for a lot cheaper if you're able to accept UPS packages. And she said, oh, I sure am. So we were able to do quite a hefty refund for her. So she was happy. And then this one, I'm just showing you the whole page. This was because it was kind of hard to show you everything. I just wanted to show you oh man. Let me see about closing that. Okay. I thought I could see the prices. So I just have to remember what the prices were. The order total was $159.25. But I think let's just go to them. Here's one. This one I think was $25. Okay, so I had picked up these vintage blank cassettes at an estate sale. I think I remember telling you about them. And so I sold this one and 2 others for $50 each, so $125, but to a buyer in India. And that's the first time we've ever shipped to India, so that I can remember. So we're going to see how it does. We did do some insurance through Pirate Ship on the package, so we shall see. Anyway, this has been a process to do this today because of my lovely technology not cooperating. You may be able to tell there was a change in lighting at some point in this video. Part got filmed in the morning and part got filmed in the afternoon, so hopefully we'll get this out to you soon. Anywho, I will talk to you guys hopefully again this week. That's the plan. And I will, as always, I would like you to leave with comments down below and let me know how your June was doing and how your June did, how your summer is going in general, anything fun you found, anything fun you sold, that kind of thing. And we will talk to you soon.